This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by iFixit. You've seen their teardowns all over the internet, the free repair guide for everything, and the ultimate marketplace for electronic tools and parts. For $5 off your purchase of $10 or more, go to ifixit.com/twit and enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout. And by IT Pro TV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30. And now through December 31st, 2016, if you purchase a premium annual membership, you'll get an additional 3 months added to your first year. Today on Know-How,
gear from Padre's Roman holiday.
welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Ballasare.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next 30, 45, 50, 60, 90 minutes, who knows, we're going to be showing you some of the projects that we've been playing with so you can take them home and geek out on your own. Brian, it's good to be back on the Radio Corner.
It is good to be back. It feels natural again because it's been a while since we've done a show here.
Folks, just let's be honest here. We're rusty. We're going to be really, really rusty, but
more than usual.
We've got something a little fun because the reason why we had to pre-record so many episodes is because I got called to Rome.
You were in Rome,
yeah.
It looked like you had a great time. Maybe.
It was very exciting. It was very exciting.
I bet.
There were more than one time that I was thinking Brian should be here because you're a history buff. And seriously, like the fifth ruin I saw, I'm like, it's just broken.
A bunch of rocks. Like, can we fix it now? Yeah, well, I did appreciate all the photos you sent back, like the Sistine Chapel.
Which you will never see because the parts of the Sistine Chapel that they let us photograph, you're not allowed to take photos in there.
But now I'm sad.
Yeah, it was one of this. Oh, it was amazing because, so I've been to the Sistine Chapel before, and what I remembered about it was crowded, it was hot, and they were always pushing you because there were so many people trying to get through it. When we got there, I realized, it's closed. So they let us in after hours, and they basically just said, okay, go
do what you want.
Do what you want.
Ah, that is so cool. I would have loved to have seen that. But it sounds like you had a lot of gadgets and stuff that you brought with you.
Yes.
Because you needed to survive while you were there.
We're calling it my Roman holiday, but really it was a Roman assignment because I was doing all the media work. So, creating videos, we were doing a bunch of blogs, a bunch of stories, translating between languages. Because we had what was called a general congregation. We elected a brand new general, then we received Pope Francis at our curia. And I think they're actually probably finishing up right about now. I came home a little early because I wanted to get out of Rome. But in order for me to do all that work, I needed a lot of gadgets.
You needed a lot of gadgets, you needed some horsepower, because
lots of horsepower.
The main thing I see right here is this Acer Predator that we reviewed.
Yes, this is, I actually bought this one.
Oh, you bought this?
I bought this
one.
So after we reviewed it, what happened was they released a new version of this, and I was able to get this for a whole lot less, because these were selling for $2,500. I actually found this one for $17.
Wow, and these things are beastly.
They are absolutely beastly, and I needed it because, I mean, you've done this. If you try to do video editing on a sub-power notebook.
I tried doing it on a MacBook Air once.
It's just
once.
It just drags. It drags. It drags. It drags and drags. And this was the notebook I brought with me, not just because I like the size, not just because I like the power, but because it was the right kind of flexible. I've got a review of this that we're going to go into in just a little bit. But this was the 6th gen Intel i7.
Nice.
It's not the latest, but it will be in the new version of this. It's a 17.3-inch screen. It's full HD, so 1920 by 1080. It's IPS, so it's got these wonderfully wide viewing angles, which I love about this. And what I like about this is the screen is actually color balanced.
Nice. That's important if you're doing video or photo editing,
Yeah, because I mean, if you've ever done color balancing for a video clip on a computer with a monitor that's not calibrated,
Mm-hmm.
and then you watch that on another computer, you're like, whoa,
what
why does
happened?
everything look horrible?
Right.
It also has a 512 gigabyte M2 SSD.
Ooh, so quick.
Crazy
Nice.
fast. But for me, the big one, the one that really got me excited, was this. The fact that it has a full 2.5 inch bay. Because
What do you
if you
put there?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe that.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that in just a bit because I brought myself a lot of SSDs. In fact, this is the first assignment I've ever done where I brought no rotating media. Every piece of storage I had was either a USB stick or an SSD. And I got to tell you, I mean, when you're moving a lot of data, that makes all the difference.
Right.
So the fact that this has a full 2.5 inch bay meant that I could swap these things in and out. So I would work until the drive got full, and then I'd swap it out and put another one. So I had 3 of these terabyte drives.
How difficult was it to get the back panel off?
Oh,
of here?
super easy. I mean,
Just a few screws?
There's 2 screws. Literally, there's 2 screws.
Oh.
And this panel just goes on like so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. I mean, this is how notebooks all used to be designed. They all had this, but as we got smaller and smaller, they started taking this out, and you had integrated parts because you could make them smaller. Well, it's nice to have a gaming notebook, a desktop replacement notebook that still has full size. In fact, this comes with 32 gigabytes. I could have upped it to 64. I've got 2 additional memory slots, and I've got another expansion port here. I could have increased this even higher than it already is. So this thing is a beast. I mean, even though it's a year old, this thing is still a ridiculous beast.
Well, and it has the GTX, what is it, 980?
This is the 980. And now the newer version of this, which by the way, is less expensive. Alex, I think we have a link here for this. It's the same CPU, it's the same screen, it's the same casing, but it's $2,000 versus $2,500. Now, for that, you get less memory. So it comes with 16 gigabytes of memory rather than the 32.
SSD.
Right, half as much SSD space, but you still get that terabyte hard disk drive, which I replaced with an SSD, which means that they're far more economical now. And remember, when we were at IFA in Berlin, we saw the ridiculous one.
That's exactly what I was thinking of with the 2 GTX 1080s.
Like the actual desktop parts. I mean, it was
insane.
Yeah. And I know there are some people who say, well, I can get, I've done video editing on this S7.
Yeah.
In fact, this is what I use when I need something in a pinch. But there is nothing like having actual horsepower. And like as I said before, more than just the horsepower, the expandability made this a no-brainer for me.
Right. I mean, I think your Acer S7 and MacBook Air, as far as like size and weight, are pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
But there are sacrifices you make to get something thin and light, and I would never take this on a trip that I had to do video editing with.
Right. My original idea was I was going to leave this for them in Rome after I was done, but then I was like, no, I want it.
You got to be able to watch movies on the plane ride home, right?
Oh, and by the way, the audio system on this really is incredible.
Well, on the bottom, it has that dedicated, I'll just show it real quick. Yeah, the dedicated subwoofer right there. And then also, I'm guessing just
Yep.
2 little
But I mean,
ones at the front there.
It actually sounds good. Most laptop audio is kind of tinny.
Yeah.
This just sounds really solid.
Well, when you have this much space to work with, that helps.
Yeah.
It's nice.
One thing I will say is it is heavy. I mean, we're getting used to our 2-pound notebooks. This thing is about almost 9 pounds. It's 10 pounds once you add in the adapter because
It's not bad.
I mean, look at this. Horsepower requires a lot of power.
What is it like standalone on the battery? Without would you even attempt it?
Yeah. Try it. I mean, the power surprisingly goes out in Rome quite a bit.
Oh.
And it was funny because one time I had a secondary monitor hooked up to this. By the way, this is the other piece of gear that I absolutely love. I got this on a lark not too long ago, but it has really become an essential piece of my travel kit. This is that 15-inch monitor. It's a 1080p monitor, and this with this, since they're both the same resolution and pretty much the same size next to each other. Oh my gosh, it's like I brought a desktop with me.
Right.
And the whole setup, including the monster power adapter, is maybe 12 pounds. which, again, heavier than most people are accustomed to carrying, but it meant that a typical timeline that I was rendering would take 20 seconds versus 15 minutes. I mean, that when you're on a deadline and when you're churning out a lot of content, that actually does make a difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I have to say that your 12-pound setup for traveling is more powerful than the desktop PC I have at home.
I know, it's kind of sad.
It's pretty awesome.
A little bit sad. But folks, we did take a look at this on Before You Buy not too long ago. So without further ado, here were my impressions of the Acer Predator 17.
This is the Predator 17, and what a machine. Carbon-carbon bonded titanium infused paneling, diamond strand intercore networking, liquid synaptic data transfer bus, bioluminescent keyboard, time vortex cooling, dual quantum dilithium diffracculation processors, powered by the captured heart of a newly born supernova. Okay, that's all sci-fi mumbo-jumbo, but the Predator 17 is a ridiculously powerful series of gaming desktop replacements that Acer sells for between $1,500 and $2,500. Our review unit is a top-of-the-line Acer Predator 17 G9-791-79Y3. That's a horrible name for a powerhouse, so I'm going to call it the Apex Predator. The Acer Apex Predator is an 8.71-pound gaming laptop with a matte-finish 17.3-inch 1920 by 1080 16 by 9 IPS screen, driven by a G-Sync-capable NVIDIA GTX 980M discrete graphics part with 4 GB of GDDR5 memory. It's powered by a 6th-gen Intel i7-6700HQ quad-core processor running at 2.66 GHz with a 3.5 GHz boost and 6 megabytes of L3 cache. It comes with 32 gigabytes of dual-channel DDR4 system memory with 2 empty slots for upgradability to 64 gigabytes. The Apex uses a hybrid storage setup for speed and capacity. Ultra-fast storage is provided by a Samsung SM951 512GB M.2 SSD supporting NVMe and a data transfer rate of 2.5 gigabytes per second, while a 1 terabyte Hitachi 7200 RPM hard drive provides SATA-connected storage. Also, if you look really close, you'll see that there are actually 2 slots to entice your upgrade technolust. If you want ports, the Apex Predator has got them. 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 on the right and 2 on the left, full-size HDMI and display ports, a gigabit Ethernet port, audio, SD card reader, and a USB-C Thunderbolt 3.0 for ultra-high-speed peripherals. We ran PC Mark 8 against the Apex Predator, and its performance was eye-opening. This is a phenomenal score for a notebook. While a standard Office PC might score 2200 and a high-end gaming notebook 2986, the Predator scored a consistent 3846. In other words, it thumped most high-end notebooks. While other gaming notebooks have used this much memory and CPU power in the past, the Apex Predator's NVMe M.2 SSD gives it a huge upper hand, even against notebooks that cost more. Now, I know what you're thinking. Padre, these are desktop benchmarks, but this is a gaming machine. How does it do with gaming benchmarks? Well, I'm glad you asked. We ran 3D Mark against the Apex Predator, and it scored 84,730 in Ice Storm, 21,735 in Cloudgate, 21,958 in Skydiver. But to put these scores into perspective, most notebooks will score an average of about 1,400 on the most challenging benchmark, Firestrike, while high-end gaming notebooks will be able to eke out about 3,300. The Acer Apex Predator scored 8,356. That's just under 2.5 times faster than the high-end gaming notebook average. So yeah, a little speed here. Of course, benchmarks can't tell us about the actual gaming experience, so I fired up some Homeworld Remastered and promptly forgot how to play the game. Frame rates were great, even when I switched it up to 4K on an external monitor. Once I remembered my keyboard macros, I was able to play Homeworld, kinda. I'm just not the gaming type, that's more Cranky Hippo. But one thing was for sure, the Apex Predator handled it all, and I didn't even need to switch it into high performance mode.
To intercept.
This is all in good, and performance is always welcome, but where the Acer Apex Predator distinguishes itself is in some of the finer style and tech touches. The keyboard is one of the best feeling units I've ever tested, with plenty of throw on a truly full-size set of clicky keys. The backlighting is also gaming-oriented with a Predator Sense app, a utility that can change lighting zones to suit the game that you're playing. For those extended gaming sessions, you can pop out the 6X Blu-ray optical drive and replace it with the included Frost Core that ups your cooling capacity with an extra fan. There's also a set of programmable macro keys that can be programmed to do everything from game combos to toggling the cooling between quiet and high performance to changing the color balance of the monitor. Anybody who's ever had a desktop replacement die because of crud will like Dust Defender, a simple application that reverses the fans every 3 hours in order to prevent a buildup of dust on the sizable heatsinks. For the Twitch gamers out there, Acer has also developed a feature they call Killer Double Shot Pro that uses both the Gigabit Ethernet and 802.11ab/GN AC adapter simultaneously, automatically routing lag-sensitive game data packets over the wired connection while keeping lag-capable data like VoIP, chat, and background processes on Wi-Fi. The last touch is the styling. From the rubberized finish to the matte screen to the responsive touchpad to the mean look, the Apex Predator just looks different, and that's a good thing. Also, unlike a lot of other gaming notebooks, the Apex Predator actually has theater-passable sound from its 4-speaker, 2-subwoofer, 12-watt sound system. Combined with a special 2-year warranty, the Acer G9-79179Y3 isn't a gaming notebook. It's a Predator.
Yes, I know that it's a gaming notebook. I know that that's what it's designed for, but as a production machine, it's really unmatched. I've never used anything that has that much power in that small of a package.
Yeah, no, it really is like carrying around a desktop with you.
And it kind of feels like it. I mean, I literally only have one bag that can fit the thing because it's huge. It's ridiculously large.
Yeah.
So that kind of does limit. And I was able to transport it inside of a Pelican case, which is kind of funny. So essentially all I could have in the Pelican case and still keep it under 50 pounds was one camera and the laptop. It's so much empty space. So the weight does kind of weigh on me. But again, I mean, if you're looking to do some sort of production work,
right,
and your time does matter, I think it's weight well spent.
Yeah, I think that this laptop makes sense for someone who is going to a destination. They are going to set this up somewhere with, like you did, with an external monitor or something like that. It's not the laptop that you're going to be carrying to the coffee shop every afternoon with you or something.
Unless
like
you want to be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. I remember when I was at the University of Hawaii, I was at the Newman Center there. There was a man who I would see him like maybe once a week, and he literally came into Starbucks with a shopping cart filled with a desktop and a monitor, and he would just set it up. And
I've seen pictures of that, yeah.
And it was just like, wait, what?
Like plugging into the wall and then setting up the monitor, the keyboard,
I will say that I have used this USB monitor. I have used this with my Acer S7, and it kind of gives me the same thing. It's got the same feel. So if I do need more screen real estate, that's what I'll use in a coffee shop. Oh, and by the way, this got all the other Jesuits who were working with me on the media, they got them jealous because they actually brought monitors, like actual monitors with them.
And you have
And I'm like, well, I have this. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, it's a monitor. And
it almost loops like a tablet because it's so thin.
It does, it does. And they were kind of blown away by it. And so the two of them tried to steal it.
And then, so it's just, how do you power the display? Is it just...
It's all USB.
It's all USB.
This is a display link, not display port. This is a display link chipset.
Okay.
We actually covered them back when they first came out, like CES, long time ago. Right. It's a single chipset that allows for video to be transported over the USB bus.
Wow.
Now, it requires... Yeah, it uses the internal video card. So there is no video card in this.
Right.
You process everything on the internal video of your computer, and then it just transports it. And if you get the USB 3 version, you can actually get 2K or 4K video on it.
And there's no input lag or anything like that? Or not enough that if you were doing video editing?
Video editing doesn't matter. I wouldn't game on this.
Right.
Because there is a little bit of lag. I mean, anytime you're going in through into a chipset and bridging to something else, there's going to be a tiny bit of lag. It's not much, but people who game will probably not like what it does to their Twitch responses.
Did you ever see like a big power drain too with it, or is it okay?
That's what I was saying about the Roam thing, because I had that plugged in, and it just sucked the power. Like in 30 minutes, I was down to 30%.
That makes sense, because that's probably the most energy intensive thing that a computer will do if it's not churning out, a video editing or something in the background. But yeah, having the screen lit up and putting video on it.
Right. I mean, the screen is the most power hungry part of your laptop, and I had 2 plugged into it, and I was rendering, so the CPU was maxed out at 100.
Right.
And the power went out, and I was like, okay, 2 things are going to happen. 1, the power's going to come back on, or 2, I'm going to have to disconnect everything to make this render finish.
Right. Well, wasn't there an earthquake while you were there?
Yeah, there was an earthquake. Actually, all the Italians were like, "Oh my gosh, did you feel that earthquake?" I'm like, I didn't even wake up.
I live in San Francisco.
I was like, I'm from California. We have earthquakes.
It happens.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, folks, when we come back, I'm going to be diving back into the geek gear from my Roman holiday, but let's go ahead and take a moment to thank a sponsor of this episode of Know How. Hey, Brian.
What's up?
We take a lot of stuff apart.
Constantly.
Usually
either it needs to be repaired, or we just want to see what it looks like.
Yes, and sometimes we break and then repair. It's all part of the learning process.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to do that, the right tools actually do make a difference. I know everyone's got that old screwdriver that they think works for everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you've ever used the wrong tool for a repair job and you've marred the case or you've destroyed a component, you know that no, you actually need the right tools for the right job.
Do it right the first time and save yourself the agony of doing it wrong.
I'd say
10 times.
The embarrassment, really, the shame of doing it wrong 10 times.
I have seen that, where you take something apart that someone else has worked on, and you're like, oh, you really screwed this up.
Yes, you have. Exactly. But that's why we are proud to have iFixit as a sponsor of Know How. Now, iFixit isn't just a set of tools. They're also a set of knowledge. And it's a community that allows you to be the maker or the DIYer that you want to be. Now, this episode of Know How is brought to you by this. It's the all-new ProTech Toolkit. Now, you know that this is what we've been using for the longest time. We love iFixit. We love their tools. We love their bits. But they redesigned it. They thought, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make this easier to use for our users? What can we do to make this, more of a central part of your geek lifestyle? So they redesigned it from the bottom up. They changed the roll. They changed the way that the bits are held in. Now they're using magnets. They angled everything so it's easier to take the bits in and out, which means you're going to lose them a lot less frequently. It's a completely reimagined design, and it shows their obsession with detail. They've got that durable canvas case that is both stylish and incredibly durable. They've got hand-selected high-quality steel bits. They've actually upped the drivers now to a 64-bit driver kit, which means you've got even more ways to get into the devices that you need to open. They've thought of everything, so you only have to worry about the fix. It's going to include those 64 bits. It's going to include precision ESD-safe tweezers, including a pair of reverse tweezers. It's going to include a wide variety of plastic opening tools and picks to safely work on tablets and smartphones without destroying the surface. You're not going to have that little marred look because you stuck a flat screwdriver and just tried to pry it open. They've also got a suction cup for display assembly removal and a metal spudger, and iFixit's own rubber-handled Jimmy pry tool. The ProTech Toolkit is the last precision toolkit that you will ever need. And that's why the ProTech Toolkit is backed by a lifetime guarantee. Folks, the people at iFixit never stop repairing, and with this toolkit under your belt, you won't either. Head over to ifixit.com/twit and use the code KNOWHOW at checkout to save $5 on your purchase of $10 or more.
Starting tomorrow, iFixit will be running their Black Friday deals until November 28th. Don't forget to check them out.
Even if you don't buy anything, you can still use their free repair guides, troubleshooting answer form, and other educational resources on their website anytime your tech has an accident. Do it right the first time with iFixit. And we thank iFixit for their support of Know How. All right, Brian, let's get back to the gear. This, it wasn't essential for production, but I got to say, I've always thought of 360 video as kind of a gimmick.
Yeah, because usually what ends up happening is it doesn't work the way it should, or it's really low resolution, or the software isn't really up to par either, so you end up having to fiddle with it and not get it like just recording when you want to.
Right, right. But thankfully, the folks over at LifeEI, we actually met them at IFA. They sent me this. We showed this off before.
Cute little guy.
6 weeks ago. It's a cute little guy. This is their little, you can actually plug this straight in and operate it just like so. But this allows you to get it away from the phone, which you kind of need if you don't want that weird look where your hand is right at the bottom. I use this pretty consistently in Rome. There were some incredible shots, like in the Sistine Chapel or in St. Peter's or at the Jesuits Church, where it was just cool to have a 360 view. In fact, Alex, go ahead and go to my computer. These are a couple of the shots that I took while I was in Rome. I wanted to try out the capabilities of the LifeEI, and the nice thing is YouTube automatically supports it. So, like for example, I have this set up on the roof of our curia. Over here, that's Holy Spirit Church. And it's just one of these things where after you see it working the first time,
that is so cool.
You just kind of go, okay, I could see where I could use this. Now, the resolution is not great. It's got two 1080p cameras, but you will notice low light performance is not nearly as good as I'd like. So, for example, here is in St. Peter's. It was so dark in there that everything got blotchy and splotchy. And also, I was holding it. Now, if you see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you really should have it up on that little gooseneck. It makes that look better. But, I mean.
In a pinch, that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. The other problem with this is it was a downpour on our way over to St. Peter's. And it was only a 5-minute run, but everything got wet. So I pretty sure I got water on the inside of the lens, which not great. I know. I was and this is a prototype too, so I was kind of bummed out about that.
That is neat, though. I mean, it really does give you the perspective, though, because I'm glad that you did this, because it gives me more of a sense of the space when you can kind of rotate around in a 360 view like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just gives you a look for what's actually going on. So this is the main altar in St. Peter's. We did one of our opening masses there, and then we did another mass with Pope Francis later on in the week. And like for example, this is the meeting space. So it's called the aula. This is where all the delegates would meet every day.
And jam.
We just jump on the keyboard. We had a little liturgical music.
Yeah.
But it's cool. And one of the things that I've noticed is you start directing the 360, because even though they can turn the angle any way they want, a lot of people will leave it on the default angle. And so you kind of have to make sure that you're pointing in the right direction so people are looking where you want them to look.
I see. I see.
And we've seen this. The Ricoh Theta actually has much higher resolution. It is a much better camera. Leo Laporte has one of those. But that thing is $600, $800. It's expensive.
Yeah.
This thing is $100.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Now it just plugs straight into the phone.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. And the LifeEI, it's called the LifeEI. Their Kickstarter is over now. But they will be offering this thing. This is one of these companies I really, really like, because they didn't use the Kickstarter to develop the product. They had already developed it. They just used the Kickstarter to make it better.
So they can actually produce something.
Right.
Instead of, well, we tried designing it and it didn't work out the way we want, so we used up all the money.
Exactly. And here's something that kind of works, but mostly not. No, this thing was working before they ever started with the Kickstarter, which, I think that's the way to do it.
So did you get a lot of weird looks, though? It seemed like there were a few of your brothers who were wondering what you're holding.
Because you look strange, because when you're doing this, when you're holding it, you hold it like this.
You're a human tripod.
Because you want it up, because otherwise your face is going to be
right in the shot. Yeah.
So people are wondering why I'm walking around St. Peter's like this, and I'm like, it's a 360 camera.
What you need is like a little hat that has an antenna, like a little Nibbler's eyeball.
I actually thought I was like, I could 3D print something for this.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the other projects I want to do. I was always a little worried that this thing was going to fly off, because you move around a lot. I want to 3D print like a housing that will clamp it onto this and will clamp it onto the phone, so I can have a much better purchase.
A little bit more sturdy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's cool, and it also does pictures. Now I will say, if you are looking to upload to Facebook or YouTube, which they both do 360 videos, you have to do what's called an injection. And you can just Google for this. There's a tool that it runs. It will just add a little bit of metadata at the beginning so that both YouTube and Facebook know.
Right. So it doesn't just
video.
pop up as a flat image.
Well, yeah. What it will look like the first time you upload it, it will look like the
like
globe
it's been
that has been
warped
laid
out.
flat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Completely warped.
Okay.
What that little bit of metadata does is it tells it to take that and like wrap it around a sphere.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. So again, that's the Lifey Eye. And if you are looking to get into 360 video, I mean, $100. This is really it's a way to go.
Yeah, totally. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's move on from something that was fun to something that saved my bacon.
Oh yeah.
I had an issue with my OnePlus One.
What do you mean issue?
So at one point, I had it plugged in. I was charging, and someone came by and they caught the cable, and it just pulled the whole thing, and it actually disconnected the USB port from the it ripped it off of the circuit board.
Wow.
It was still working, but then I was like, I have no way to get anything off this phone anymore, and then I have no way to charge it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. So the battery was still working.
The battery was still working, but I'm like, I mean, I guess I could like connect to Wi-Fi and push things up to Google Drive or whatever, but I needed something quick. And luckily, I had brought this. Now, I brought this RAV Power just because it's a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. But then I remember it's actually a file server. So this uses
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
SD or SDXC cards. This is a 64 gigabyte card. It will also do USB. But the cool thing about this is, I mean, you can plug it into a USB drive and use it like a USB drive. But if you turn it on,
is it a little access point?
it's Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's cool.
It's very cool. So I was able to connect to this off my OnePlus One, and I was able just to push everything to that flash card.
Oh, nice. And you were on like a time crunch too, because once that battery dies.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going
it.
on? And so eventually I fixed it. I found a little donor port and I replaced it. But like, for example, what I can do is let's connect to this network. Hold on, as soon as it gets connected.
Yeah, it's probably booting up.
It's got to boot up. It's actually very cool because what this will do is not only is there an app on the phone for you to access it, but you can also access it from any browser. So once you connect my laptop to it, it just looks like another file server.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually very cool. Let's see if I can get this in there. Okay, good. It should be up by now. So you just connect to it like you would any other access point. And I can't remember what I called it. Twit on air, Twit. Oh, there it is. YSD.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There we go. Right, are we showing? Yeah, go ahead and show them this. There we go. So it's gonna freak out a little bit because it's trying to connect, and it's like, wait a minute, you don't have the internet, and it's like, yeah, there is no internet. You're not gonna have the internet on that. But once I am connected, there we go, connected, secured. I know that the gateway is 10.10.10.254, and all I have to do is go to a browser, go to 10.10.10.254. And it actually has a web page. And I don't remember.
My word
is that it?
Is it password?
Is it that? Oh, got it.
Nice.
All right. How about that? So I can access the disk. I can access either the SD card or I can access the USB drive that's connected, and I have complete access to all of the files that might be stored.
It's not pretty, but it's functional.
It's so not pretty. But the cool thing about this was I could connect multiple devices to this. So as I was sucking down all the data from my phone, I was also able to copy it over to the computer so that I could do my production work.
Oh, that's really neat. Yeah. And so you've got you could just plug in that SD card. You got a 60.
That's a 64 gig card.
Yeah.
And again, you know, it's not super advanced, and as you mentioned, that interface is kind of ugly.
But as long as it works.
It works. And Alex, actually, if you go to the link, this thing is only about $32. It's not expensive at all. And the fact that you get a battery pack along with that wireless file server, I actually kind of fell in love with this thing.
That's pretty handy for traveling. I like that.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you don't have an emergency where you have to copy stuff off your files and off your phone, the fact that I could charge and maybe store all my movies on this.
Right.
So like if I was doing a car trip with a bunch of kids,
right,
I could put all the media that they want to watch on this. They can connect to it with their iPads, with their phones, with their laptops, and this just acts as the mobile file server.
Have you tried multiple devices pulling data off of it?
Oh yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's
And
fine. I mean, I wouldn't do 4K video.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it is still wireless, but yeah, I've had up to 4 devices connected to it at the same time, and it seemed to be just
pretty cool.
Just good.
So what's the battery life like if you're using it as an access point?
So I can't tell you exactly because I don't know when it turned off, but I know it runs at least 8 hours.
Not bad.
Yeah, and it just charges via a micro USB port, so I mean,
you could just have it plugged in
standard.
too. Yeah, cool.
All right, so that's one type of storage. But I also mentioned, remember, that this was the first trip I've ever done where I didn't have any rotating storage.
Right.
And the way that I got away with that is I brought all of these. Now, you know I like Kingston, so this is what I purchased. So I got myself a bunch of these. These are actually the upgrade kits, but the upgrade kits come with the enclosure.
Yeah, I like the enclosures.
I love these enclosures. They're so easy to use. And this is what I use. So I had 3 1 terabyte drives. I had 3 of these HyperX 1 terabytes, these things, which are absolutely...
They are literally savage.
They are savage.
Well named.
But then I also needed something that I could use for backups. And I used several series. So I used their the SD Now, the KC300s. I just have a bunch of these, so that's what I use. But this is their value drive. And I wanted to see if I could trust value drive, because you've heard me say several times, don't buy value. I'm not a fan of value. I want to spend a little bit more and get a much faster drive that I would trust. But you know Dave at Kingston.
I do, yeah.
He told me, he's like, look, I understand what you're saying, but what you want is a value drive that's actually been built
as a value drive.
As a value drive.
Not a reject drive
precisely.
that they then made into a...
Exactly. And that's what you get with a lot of manufacturers. What they do is, because they have to solder everything, and then they have some parts that aren't quite performing up to spec, and they become the value drive.
Yeah.
Kingston, their value drives were built as value drives.
Right.
So it's a slower controller, it's a different class of memory, but they were designed that way. They're not rejects, they're just less expensive. Now this one is the UV400. You can get this for about, what, $60 for 240 gigs, 110 for 480 gigs, 240 for 960 gigs. So the sweet spot is the 480. And I got 5 of these. And you know what? As a USB drive,
perfect.
That's perfect. It actually performs pretty much the same as the HyperX Savage, because you're limited by the USB bus. You're not limited by the drive. And I mean, this one will do 550, 550, 550 write, 550 read. This one will do 550 read and 490 write. So it's just a tiny bit slower.
Yeah.
I must have pushed probably 20, 30 terabytes through these.
Wow.
And I didn't have one single problem.
That's awesome. And this is overkill. If you want, or if you're just doing it as a portable drive, that's overkill.
Yeah. So this is the one I had inside that Predator, because I wanted it in that the 2.5-inch drive bay, so I could get maximum performance. But I mean, if you're buying it so that it can be a USB drive, this is actually overkill.
Yeah, and the benefits of having an SSD for traveling are twofold. Because one, it's fast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's faster than a spinning drive. But 2, it's much less susceptible to impact.
Yeah.
Like if you're traveling, you drop your luggage or something, you have a spinning drive, you know, there's a tendency where something bad could happen.
Put it this way, if your SSD got enough force to destroy it,
you have bigger problems.
You've got bigger problems.
Yeah.
Especially if it's anywhere near you, because that means you're probably dead.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not the only storage that I brought with me. We were using these Samsung tablets inside the outlet. We gave all of the delegates Samsung tablets, and they had USB-C. And we needed a way to be able to quickly transfer data back and forth. So we got ourselves a bunch of these. This is a Kingston. This is their Type-C 3.1 flash drive. These 64 gigabyte ones they're only $23, but here's the cool thing. So on this side it's USB 3, crazy fast. The other side, that's USB-C.
And there's a 64 gig chip in between the.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I can plug in either way. So
That's
I
awesome.
plug it in this way to access to the tablets.
And then plug it in the other way to your laptop or whatever.
Precisely.
Yeah. Oh, that's clever.
It's very clever. Now, they have another version of this, the Duo, that I use for my phone because it has OTG. So
okay.
it's USB 3 and then OTG on the other side, so I can read it from my phone. But this one, I got myself a lot of these things.
Yeah, I'm impressed that these 60, you said 64
64
gigabytes?
gig, and they're fast. They're crazy fast. So again, I've bought wholeheartedly the Kingston thing, and I got these just on a lark because I wanted to see if they would serve the purpose that we needed them to serve for the delegates, and they did great.
Yeah, I mean, consistent. What you're really looking for is reliability, you know, and consistency. And when you don't want to lose data, you don't want to cheap out on that sort of thing.
Oh, and by the way, if you've got one of those new MacBooks that only has USB-C or the Type-C connector,
yeah, that's a good point. That would be a great
they can have the
solution.
Thunderbolt version. Yeah.
Now, if Apple tried selling those, they'd be
$15,000. That's what they do.
and then they'd cut.
And
the
then they
price
cut it in half.
Yeah.
So
like,
okay,
see, we're being nice.
7,500.
Yeah, no
all right.
problem.
All right. Folks, when we come back, I've got one more gadget from my Roman holiday. One thing that really came in handy. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank another sponsor of this episode of Know How. Hey, Brian, one of the things that gets asked of me a lot is how do I get into IT?
Right. It's because I like IT stuff. I like computers. And if I wanted to get into the field, I could just say, oh, I built my own computer, but I don't have any way to prove that I know what I know.
Precisely. What if I told you that there was a way to not just learn about everything IT, not just get the certificates that you need to be able to show people that you know everything about IT, but also to be an online repository so that even a veteran IT person can come back and find that one little bit of information that he or she needs to do the job.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds awesome because it sounds like IT Pro TV.
The demand for highly trained, experienced IT professionals continues to grow. Hiring managers are looking for relevant certifications, and IT Pro TV is the best way to stay up to date with current IT certifications. IT Pro TV offers over 2,000 hours of content and more than 30 hours that are added each week. You can stream courses live and on demand worldwide to your Chromecast, your Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or PC. The course topics range from everything from certified information systems, security professional, CompTIA Security Plus, CompTIA A+, CompTIA Project Plus, and Ethical Hacking version 9. Their upcoming courses include things like Computer Hacking Forensics Investigator, Cybersecurity Analyst Plus, Red Hat Linux, and Lean Agile Project Management. Transcripts let you follow from start to finish or jump to any part of the video, and they've got more than 100 step-by-step virtual machine labs and transcender practice exams. That's a $109 value included with your subscription. IT Pro TV's clients include Harvard, MIT, UCSD, Stanford, and more. If they trust IT Pro TV, shouldn't you too? Take advantage of their low monthly subscription price and no hassle cancellation policy. Their premium annual membership includes the ability to download IT Pro TV content for offline viewing on your mobile device. Premium annual memberships are normally $57 a month or $570 per year, but we have a special offer for our listeners. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30. And through December 31st, 2016, if you purchase a premium annual membership, you'll get an additional 3 months on your first year. That's 15 months for the price of 12. Just visit itpro.tv/knowhow. That's itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30.
And we thank IT Pro TV for their support of Know How. Okay, Brian, one last hit before we call it a day.
All right.
So I had to do a lot of multitasking, and that meant that I was always on my computer, I was on my phone, I was on a tablet.
Yeah.
I was looking for a headset that I could use with all of those, that I'd be able to connect to my computer, connect to my phone, and connect to my tablet so that I didn't have to have 3 different headsets. And I didn't think that existed until I found the Plantronics Legend UC.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this.
Well, without further ado, let's see what Plantronics has planned for people who want Bluetooth on the go.
The Plantronics Voyager Legend you see is an in-ear Bluetooth headset that features an adjustable boom mic, customizable earbuds, and sound quality that is without a doubt the best of any Bluetooth headset I've ever tested. The Legend is contained within a pillbox carrying case that protects the headset and USB dongle. The case also acts as a portable battery and charger for the headset, meaning that putting the headset back into the case will charge the former, and plugging a micro USB cable into the case will charge both. Perhaps understanding that power is the Achilles heel of any wireless device, Plantronics also includes ways to charge the headset when it's not in the carrying case. A USB base lets you charge the Legend when it's at your desk, while a small magnetic attachment can charge the device on the road. Once undocked, the Legend has enough battery life for 4 to 5 hours of talk time. The headset itself is a decent piece of engineering. It's marvelously flexible, and the earpiece can pivot to either side for left or right ear use. On the back of the unit are power and volume switches, while the call, answer, and mute buttons are located behind and below the boom mic. The Legend also features a capacitive touch smart sensor that can determine if you're wearing the headset. When you are, it will automatically answer incoming calls, transfer active calls from your phone, or resume audio streaming. When you take off the headset, it will automatically transfer calls back to your phone, pause audio streaming, and lock the call button to prevent accidental dialing. The Legend UC is a phenomenally good sounding headset that I found comfortable and designed just right. The ability to use Bluetooth or the included dongle on both products is a big plus, as is the DSP enhanced audio and the functionality of the Spokes control program.
You know, I've never been able to hold on to a Bluetooth headset for more than like a month or
Why?
so. They just keep getting lost.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But that headset I've actually had for 3 years now.
That was pretty, I like the different charging ways that you can do. That was pretty clever.
Yeah. It's a bit more expensive because it's designed as a UC, that's Unified Communications Device. So it's got all the little hooks that you need to connect to like Microsoft Link and properly use the advanced features on Skype.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, you know what? Now that I've got it, I can't go back to like the cheapy ones.
Yeah, that looked ideal too for traveling. Because it doesn't take up any space.
Very much so.
And you found it was okay for doing editing and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. And when you need something like discreet, that you can just keep on your ear, that feels good, that it's okay to leave it up all day, I think they did something right.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, folks, we know that this has been a lot of information, and we want to make it easy for you to get any of the gear that we showed you on this episode. Brian, where did they go for that?
They can go to twit.tv/KH, and that's where all our past episodes live. And like Padre had mentioned, there's our show notes, which will have everything that we showed off today listed with its price and a link on Amazon to be able to find all that goodness.
Indeed. And don't forget that we have a presence on the socials, specifically on Google+. If you go to Google+ and look for Know-How, you can join a group that has over 10,000 Kitas. That's know-it-alls. These people are every range, every type of DIYer and maker, from the beginner to the expert. So if you feel like you want a new project, or maybe you want to help other people with their projects, please join us and become part of the Know-How crew.
That's right, but if you want a different way on the socials to get a hold of us, or you want to see what Padre was up to while he was in Rome, you can always find us on Twitter. I am at cranky_hippo.
And you're going to find me at PadreSJ. And don't forget that we've got a third member of the team. Very important. He's the man who pushes all our buttons. He's Alan Smythe.
That's Mr. Alan Smithy to you.
Wait, what movie is that from?
Every movie.
Dune.
Is that Dune?
The director's cut that David Lynch
okay, yes. So you can find Alan Smythe at ANELF3. That's at ANELF3. Drop him a message.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah. He really is. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballas here.
I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
get traveling.